Yo, hello, and thank you very much if you've just joined me. I haven't actually streamed in a very long time. There's been some very boring reasons for that that I'm not really going to go massively into, to be fair. Basically, I've just decided to do a World of Warcraft video today. A lot of people have been talking about Warcraft because of Gamescom, and for people who've been playing the game quite a lot, they didn't really show anything that exciting or that brand new for the game. But for people outside of WoW who've dabbled in the past, who haven't really touched it before, there's obviously a lot of information to take in. So I've decided to do a kind of guide, starter video today, just to go through what the game's about. Just as a bit of a disclosure, I normally swear quite a lot in my videos. Like it or don't like it, that's just part of who I am. However, because WoW is kind of a bit of a family-oriented game, it appeals to people of different ages and cultures and so on. I'm not actually going to be swearing at all today. So just going to put that out there. If you are worried that I am going to start doing that, I'm not going to turn the air blue with my profanities. So just to give you an idea about what WoW is and where WoW is at the moment, you can actually play a basic trial of the game. Now what that does is that gives you access to pretty much all of the character creation functions. It allows you to create a character for most of the specs bar 2, and basically it gives you access to a trial version of the game where you can go up to level 20 and you can basically see what Azeroth and what the game is all about. Now you can't go above 20. Once you hit 20 you can carry on playing. It doesn't kind of boot you out of the game. And you do have some social functions that are quite limited, but it does give you a bit of a taste of what Azeroth is all about. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an overview of the game now, tell you a little bit about what to expect, kind of what to look out for, what you should be doing, and what you really don't have to worry about as well, because that's always quite a big problem with MMOs. People do tend to go into them and go, what's the best class? Should I join a guild? What add-ons do I need? I'm just going to go in this from a vanilla approach. I haven't downloaded any add-ons, and I don't think from a starter point of view you should do that. Really just play the game kind of fresh, play it vanilla. If at some point you do go, oh, I wish I could do this, or I wish I had that, that's the time for you to then go and look for add-ons. But I think, you know, just do it as a pure experience as possible and see how you go. So anyway, on to the meat and bones of it. This is our realm selection. So this is probably actually the most important choice you will make before you actually start choosing what race or what class you want to be. Is where you want your home to be, because you've got all these different kind of realms, and at first look they are kind of actually daunting. I'll just give you a brief overview of what they are and what these different things mean. You have realms that are basically sorted based on their type and their population. Now population, kind of self-explanatory, but it means that the amount of characters or live characters that are registered on that realm. So as you can see here, if I sort it by population, you've got high, you've got medium, and you've got low, and you've got new players. Now you can actually go into a new player realm, play on there for a bit. It means you kind of mitigate their chances of having to deal with griefing players or trolls. But what it means is you can actually then migrate for free over to one of the more kind of populated areas once you feel comfortable to do so. I've got quite a few characters based on different realms. I'm a bit of an ultraholic. I do like to have loads of different characters and play loads of different classes. However, some people just like to stick with one. That's completely up to you. So realistically, you've got a number of different realm types. And you've got normal. And what normal means is the rules and the sort of custodial sort of mannerisms of this realm is PvP is cool, RP is cool, which is role playing. It's basically a pretty balanced and normal server, whereas when you look at places like Kazakh, for example, that's a player versus player server. So player versus player will always be enabled. You cannot disable it other than when you're in areas where PvP is just naturally disabled. So that means regardless of your level, you can be attacked, or you can attack other players from the opposite faction. If that sounds awesome, then great, this could be something for you. However, do be prepared on higher balanced servers, or servers where there's maybe more of one faction than there is the other, to basically have a lot of trouble dealing with other players. So, but I mean, if it's something for you and it's something you can enjoy, definitely I'd recommend a PvP. Now you've got your RP servers like Argent Dawn. Now these offer a very different experience in the MMO sort of universe, especially for WoW. In fact, you may have heard of some of the role-playing servers outside of the game. And what this is for people that want to role play their characters, and they can take that to a whole new level. You can join guilds that are specifically for role playing. You can have like Death Knight guilds or Paladin guilds that are set up to patrol the city and guard. There is a very, very heavy culture within this. However, people are quite welcoming to newcomers and will kind of go out of their way to help people enter that kind of realm of role playing. But there is an etiquette as well that follows it. But it is very interesting if you want to look at it. You then have your RP PvP servers, which kind of combine the two into one thing and provide you this very unique experience of being able to role play and also do a bit of PvP. That's kind of where I spend a lot of my time, because I like to dabble between all three. I don't think normal tends to give you as much as of the PvP and the role-playing side as an RP PvP server, but it is really up to you. But this is important, because if you do want to transfer over to another realm and you're not on one of the new player realms, there is a cost element involved, unfortunately. So this is very, very important. I think you should really take your time to decide where you want to be. Maybe create a couple of kind of dummy characters in those realms. Go on chat, ask people what it's like there, ask what the population is like or what their guilds are like. You may get some jokey answers, and you'll obviously get some serious ones as well, but I think it's definitely worth investing your time. Now I'm going to shut up about that, and I'm going to head over to Draenor. I haven't got any characters on this realm, so this is a good place for me to kind of start and show you guys what the game is kind of about and what different classes you can play. So, factions, you have the Alliance and the Horde. Two very infamous kind of factions in the gaming universe, let alone the MMO universe. You have several different characters that you can choose from here, including their gender as well. So from the Alliance you have humans, dwarves, night elves, gnomes, the Draenei and the Worgen. And then on the Horde you have the Orc, the Undead, the Tauren, Trolls, Blood Elves and Goblins. And then you have a neutral faction here called the Pandaren, which after doing like a brief kind of like quest line, you then get to choose which faction you want to play as. Now you do have a number of classes as well. I think 11 in total. 5, 6, 7, 11. Yeah, sure. You've got 11 classes. Some of the races can't be certain classes, so that's something to bear in mind when you come to actually choose what you want to play. Now it's completely up to you. You can either put the race first and then choose the class, or you can put the class first and then choose the race. Really, that is subjective. It's down to you. This is your character, and this is hopefully a character that you're going to spend many, many hours on, so it's got to be unique and it's got to feel important to you. So that's always something very, very important to bear in mind when you do create these characters. You can, of course, change them if you want to change them. However, there is another kind of cost element involved in that. So again, spend a bit of time. There's nothing wrong with you tinkering, creating a character, deciding you don't like it early on, deleting it, creating something else. So it's something very, very important. I do again recommend kind of investing quite a bit of time in this. Now, I've been a Horde player basically since the start, so I'm going to create a Horde character. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go for an Orc Warrior. Kind of seems a little bit cliche, but I think Orc Warriors are a good kind of place to start off with. They're very, very good for questing along with Paladins, very, very good for soloing content as well. So I'm going to create a brand new character. Now you do have a number of different customizationable options that you can go through. There are MMOs out there that definitely do this part of the game better. And it's been a bedbug of fans for a very, very long time. Being able to have the ability to kind of have different options. But you do have a number of things that you can create. We've got skin color, face as well. We've got some pretty mean looking dudes, old looking dudes. I'm a warrior, so I want to kind of look as angry as possible. Let's have a little cheeky look through. Mohawks are rad, so we'll go for a mohawk. And then facial hair. Beards are good. MMOs, I get to live out my beard envy. Unfortunately, this kind of like ridiculous goatee half beard thing is basically the max of what I can do. So I live out my beard fantasies through these guys online. Cool, so we got a character, now we need to name them. Now you can only go for single names, you can't go for double barrel names or anything like that, unfortunately. But, oh, this is like the hardest bit for me. Mugo Smash. Cool. All right. Wicked. Nobody actually had that. Probably because it's a stupid name. So I shouldn't be too happy about that. I'm just going to click off these because basically I've got a number of add-ons installed. But like I said, I'm not going to be running any of the add-ons for you guys. I think it just basically causes too many questions and answers. So I'm just not gonna bother with that. That being said, if you do have any questions about the game, I'm not biased towards it. I've had breaks from WoW because of annoyances over the years. So if you do want to know anything about the game whatsoever, just ask away and I'll do my best to help out. Now when you load in, you do kind of get a bit of a cool introduction to your race. It gives you a bit of a backstory to your race and who they are and what's kind of happened in the world. They haven't updated this since Cataclysm, which is 1, 2, 3 expansions ago now. So the story kind of it doesn't fit in too well with where we are at the moment in Legion. However, it does kind of give you like a linear quest and experience that gives you a branched overview of the story right up until Legion. So you don't have to invest yourself too heavily in it, but it is there for you if you do want to kind of give it a go. I'm just going to skip this because I am talking over it a buttload. Now that's interesting. I'm pretty sure I disabled all my add-ons. Cool, there we go, great. So here you are, I'm now in the world of Warcraft. Just to give you an overview of what we have. In this little area down here, this is basically your chat area, which basically for anything like your party chat, your guild chat, your zone chat, your local chat, anything like that is based here. So I type in something there, it appears above my head, also appears down here. Likewise, if somebody talks to me, they'll be able to kind of, I'll be able to see it down there and above their head as well. So this is a general overview. We've got a cast bar down here, got a number of things like our character info, spellbooks, abilities, quest logs and so on. I'm not going to go too much into these unless you guys ask me about them. I'm just going to wait for them to kind of naturally come up and kind of feed the information to you that way. Now you play this game using the WASD keys. You kind of tab through to select targets. You can use the mouse to click on them as well. But primarily, yeah, you play with WASD. There's no point in click. You can enable that, I think, if you want, but the game is designed to be played that way. So I'm just going to give you an overview of the quests, show you guys a little bit about how the game actually works. Hi George, thanks a lot for joining. And give you an overview of kind of how the actual combat works out, what you can do in the world, maybe look a little bit at dungeons as well if we get that far, and just show you kind of the progression and what to expect from the game, and also what the game expects from you as well in terms of time. Time is obviously a very, very important thing to people. With the rise of like MOBAs and free-to-play games as well, it's obviously very, very natural for people to want to invest a very small amount of time into something because life is just so busy. So I'm going to go over a little bit about what you can expect to get from the game based on the amount of time you put into it, because I think that's quite important as well. So I'm going to shut up now. We've got this guy, he's a quest giver. As you can see, he had an exclamation mark above his head. He gives you a quest, read through that, tells you what to do. And then you then get a question mark on your map. That shows you where the actual quest hand in or where the quest location is. So I'm going to read through this and complete. Amazing. Right, so now I've got my first of many slaughter quests. So what this will be is this will just be a quest where it will kind of teach me a very, very few basic combat mechanics. And I'll also get to kill some stuff as well and dive into the action. My name is Yanni, by the way. Thank you very, very much for joining me. I tend to play a lot of MMOs. I play Elder Scrolls Online. I also play Hearthstone and also look at early access games as well. If you do have any questions about this game or just MMOs in general, throw them my way and I'll do my best to answer them. So, to play the game and to actually combat, you have this bar down here. Now this is your cast bar and you get given abilities. As you level up, you gain more abilities, and these abilities eventually get added to the cast bar. Now, the beauty of this is you get to actually mix and match them around. I can change the abilities to different keys based on where I want them. Now, one thing to kind of get used to is playing with the keys that they're assigned to. It's very, very, very tempting and very easy to just click the button like so with your mouse, and it performs the action. It's a lot better to play with the keys. Trust me on that. I spent a long time when I started basically like running around clicking attack there, attack there. Get used to just naturally using the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 keys. You can rebound, you can put them to different keys. Any key on your keyboard basically, whatever is easiest for you. But I strongly recommend using that against the mouse. Now, I'm just killing these guys. Now what you may have noticed, and if you haven't already, is if you look at the top left hand of the screen, where I've got my character details, it obviously shows my health, and it shows this red bar down here. Now this tends to be your resource for your character. Now your resource is basically the primary, resource is basically the primary thing that's needed to use a lot of your abilities. You normally get some abilities that generate the resource, which would be lower cost abilities or lower damage output abilities, and then you get higher damage output abilities that tend to consume that resource. So it's kind of a balance of mixing the two and ensuring that you're never generating too much and you're not overspending at the same time. However, this is a mechanic that I think is a little bit more advanced, especially when you're looking at higher level content. Really right now, it's just more about fun, which is really what you should be doing, I hope. So if you just notice as well a yellow thing engulfed my character, that means I just leveled up, which is great. You start off at level 1, the max level cap at the moment is 110. If that seems a lot to you, it kind of is, but don't let it put you off too much, purely because the game really is about having fun more than anything else. You shouldn't race to get to max level. A lot of people tell you the game kind of starts at max level. Arguably it does to some extent, but realistically you should be looking at just enjoying the game, go through all the quests, do the leveling, enjoy it as much as you possibly can. And I'm going to maybe say something which is a little bit lame, but for me personally, I would give anything at all to play this game from the start. To start all over again and dive in as if it was my first time, I would give anything to do that. And I know there's a lot of players that feel the same. So just enjoy it. Don't worry too much about which class is best, which class does the most damage, which spec does the most damage. I'll go into those in a little bit. It's more about just picking something that's fun for you and is fun to play, because the characters that do the most damage aren't necessarily the ones that are the most fun to play. Obviously that's very subjective, that's very personal, it's down to you, but just bear that in mind. Try not to read into it too much. Try and have fun, just learn from the community, learn from different websites as well about what you could be doing and what you should be doing, but it's more about what you enjoy, so just bear that in mind. So I've completed my quest, I've turned it in, and I've now been given some loot. So I can go to my bags here, I can just open them up by pressing B, and I've now been given some hands. Now if I go to my character sheet or just press C, I can basically either right click and that puts it into this slot over here, so I've now got some pretty neat looking gloves, or I can just simply, I'll put that back. I can literally just grab and drop in like that. It's about as basic as it needs to be, I suppose. So this character sheet over time will make more sense. I'm completely losing my words right now. But you do have your attributes like your strength, your stamina, your armor, or if you're a magic user, you'll have things like intellect. If you're a rogue, you'll have things like agility. But we'll look at those maybe more in some later streams. Right now, you really don't need to worry about that too much. By the way, if you do have any questions about WoW, ask away. Like I said earlier, I'm not biased towards this game whatsoever. I have played it for years. However, I do know where the game is lacking, where its faults are, what it could probably do better for newer players. So if you do have any questions, fire them over. Always more than happy to answer them. So we've also got a new quest. This guy wants some apples. So I'm going to give him 6 apples and he's going to give me 10 back. So groovy. Cool, so if you look on the map now, if I just open it up by pushing the M key, you can now see this blue area highlights effectively the area that I'm going to be able to find the quest items in. So either it's things that I need to find or it's creatures that I need to kill, but they're kind of represented as these blue areas. So it's kind of cool, it shows you where to look. I'm just going to look for these apples now, and I need to kill these scouts as well. So I'm just going to have a cheeky little look. Now, while we're gathering these, I think one of the main questions I have been asked before, could you get quest items from the market, George? Yes, you can. However, in instances like this, to go to the market, you either have to log out and go on the WoW Armory Companion app and do it, or you'd have to make your way over to one of the main cities and go to an auction house. So in instances like this, probably wouldn't benefit you whatsoever. A lot of the time the quest items are shown nearby. That being said, there are profession quests that you do later on in the game, where it will be like you need to gather 80 different bits of leather, blah blah blah, which you then need to go into the world and skin. You can buy those on the auction house, and those do help you with the profession quests. However, you are also probably going to have to pay for it more than you would normally have to as well, because players who sell these things know exactly why people are buying them, and they like to mark the price up accordingly. So but honestly, buddy, I would recommend just going in the world and finding them like this. I need 6 of them. I could probably be doing this a lot quicker as well, and it only takes a few minutes, so, but that's up to you. I'm just gonna have a cheeky bit of coffee as well, because this is my 3rd cup, and it is currently 12:30 in the UK, so I'm gonna peak probably in about an hour's time. So cool, so that's all those. I now need to go down here and kill the Northwatch scouts. So I'm just going to make my way down here. If it does feel slow at the moment, it's because the game deliberately does that to you. It doesn't give you many means of travel, because it wants you to kind of learn the content, learn how questing works, learn how combat works, before giving you things like mounts, where you can obviously go a lot faster and traverse the area quicker. There are kind of flight paths as well, where you can take flying mounts that will fly you to certain areas, whether or not you've unlocked them. But again, if I've got time in this stream, I'll show you guys a little bit more about that. If I don't have time, then I'll do it in my next one, and I'll kind of focus on that thing as well. Now, at the moment, these guys here, they have a yellow health bar. Now, yellow means they're effectively attackable, but they won't attack you until you do so first. The starter areas, like the one we're in now, a lot of these guys will basically be of that kind of status. So it gives you a bit of breathing room in terms of learning the combat. Now, when these NPCs have a red thing like they do now, it means they're just going to keep attacking you until they die, or until you run far away enough that they'll kind of just lose the thread and then go back to where they originally were. So when it's like this, it's obviously easier to kind of learn the combat mechanics without getting too swamped, because it's very, very, very easy to do. I still do it now sometimes. I overpull, and I'll have like 6 or 7 mobs chasing me, and it's just game over. So yeah, it's always something to be very, very careful of. Now I'm just going to kill these guys. Again, always just keeping myself a little bit of rage available. Not spending too much, really don't need it. These guys are just taking a few hits here and there, and they're going down pretty quickly. So cool, there we go. Now I'm just going to turn these back in now, and hopefully we'll get a new ability as well at the same time. I can show you guys a little bit about the abilities that are available to you as well. Oh my god, that coffee is awful. Oh, there we go. Coffees are just one thing that I'm never very good at making. Tea, on the other hand, tea, I'm a pro. Coffee, awful. And it's a shame because I really like coffee, so wicked. So I've just got some new braces. I'm going to open up my bags and just right click, puts on. As you can see, my character sheet has now appeared. So as you gain gear, your health pool increases, your attack increases, your critical strike, all these different attributes increase. And they do all have, at the moment, actually no, it doesn't look like they have anything but armor, which is fair enough. as you go through the game and you get more gear, the gear kind of tailors itself towards what attributes you should be focusing in on. Once upon a time, you had to actively look for those things and make sure you were getting the right things. The game now naturally gives you armor that's best for your specialization. Obviously, when you get to end game, and if you get into serious kind of raiding, there are ways of fine-tuning that, and you will have to fine-tune that. However, from a casual point of view, as a casual player, it's really not something you need to kind of worry yourself about too much, and it can kind of distract from the game unnecessarily if you do spend too much time worrying about it. So now I need to go wake up some lazy peons. Thanks, Zumba, am I saying that right? I'm really sorry if I'm not. You can tell me off for it if you like, but thank you very much for joining the stream. If you guys do have any questions, then as I said before, just ask away. I'm always happy to give you honest answers if and when I can, because I'm not doing this stream to go, hey guys, buy World of Warcraft. I'm here to basically give people an insight into what it's like now at the moment, how easy it is for you to get into it or not easy it is for you to get into it, and also to give you an idea of what it kind of appeals to or who it appeals to. So any questions you have, just ask away and I'll do my best. Now, I've been given this lazy peon quest. I've got to go give wake these peons up. This guy's he's just decided that he's had enough of being lazy. He's going to go get up by himself. However, what happens with quests like these is you normally get given like a little item here in your bag, but it shows you next to the quest thing, so you actually have to quit. No, he's decided by his own merit that he's going to stop being lazy and get on with his life, which is great. So thanks for that, Blizzard. This guy, no, he's well on his way. All right, cool. What I'll do is, while they're sorting their lives out, I'll just start killing some scorpions. Solo, yes it is. In fact, the majority of the content you can do solo. There are group instances you can do, like dungeons and things like that. However, you don't actually have to do any of those. There is, as I mentioned earlier, there is a story to this game. There is quite a lot of lore to pick up, and a lot of the story content is solo. When it comes to how some of the stories conclude, yeah, you'll have to kind of do things like raids to see how they end. However, for the most part, yeah, you can go from start to finish and never have to group up with anyone should you desire to. However, being an MMO, there's obviously a very social element to this game, and I would recommend trying to find other new players or maybe even some experienced players that want to help out, because while it's not necessary and while you don't need them to do certain aspects of the game, it's always good to have someone that's willing to help you out, give you a bit of gold, and so on. Let's see if we can cool. Alright, yeah, we can wake him up, which is rad. I did forget to mention I've now been given a new ability. What happens when you get new abilities is it tends to just add it straight onto your cast bar for you to use straight away. However, once I go and hand these quests in, I will show you the skill book where you can see where all these abilities come from. Now, in terms of starter characters, for soloing content, I think my preferred favourite will always be a warrior, or it'll be a paladin. They have a lot of self-heals, or they can heal while in combat. They also do a lot of very, very good burst damage, which is basically damage that they do straight away off the bat. They do a high amount of damage over a small amount of time. Obviously, as time increases, the damage kind of slows down, which is why it's called burst. But they're very, very good for soloing content. You do have other classes as well, like hunters, where you get a pet that you can use for questing. They're also very, very good for doing solo quests with. And solo leveling, and you do have warlocks as well. Warlocks, specifically the affliction spec, is very, very good for soloing content. So that's maybe something to bear in mind. Some classes are just naturally harder than others, depending on what you want to do with them. but I would recommend trying them all out because they're all really, really fun. There's some classes that I deliberately didn't touch for years because I just didn't like the look of them, and then picked them up and kind of went, wow, I wish I started playing this years ago. I don't know why these peons keep getting up before I get to them. It's really, really annoying. Cool, I didn't need to kill that guy, but it gives me a little bit of XP, and it's also fun, so... I'm cool, I'm glad I pronounced your name alright. If anything, I've managed to achieve that for today, so that's something at least, so... Cool, I've now woken these guys up. And there's another quest giver here, so let's see what this guy wants. Warrior, I thought I would die here with none of you know of it while I was hunting the scorpions in the valley. Okay, kill Sarkoth and bring his claw back to Hanazuwa? Hanazuwa, there's so many difficult like names in this game. Cool, so this is like a simple kill and fetch quest. So I'm going to go kill something and bring that something back to this guy, so... Oh, the peons are on a timer. Well, today I learned. So... And you know what, that's kind of good for me because normally when I start a new character, because I've played this game so much, I just smash through trying to get as high a level as I possibly can, which I don't recommend doing. Like I said earlier in the stream, I really think it's best if you spend a bit of time just learning the mechanics, just follow the natural progression of the game, don't race to the end level. But now I do that because I've got a lot of ults. I tend to miss the most simplest of things, like Bon has just highlighted for me, that the peons are on a timer, so thanks for pointing that out. Cool, okay, so I've got 3 quests that I've completed, and now I've got 3 quests that are ready to hand in. So I can now go and hand these in to the quest givers, get a little bit of XP, and level up. Now I'll talk a little bit about what there is to do at the end game kind of side of things as well, because it's always good to know what there is for you in the game once you actually reach the max level. Some games tend to not give you very much at all, or just give you very, very repetitive things. The game 100% does not end at max level. As I kind of mentioned earlier, in many aspects, the game actually starts then, in a way. And there's loads of things for you to do, like raiding or reputation grinding. You can hunt for certain appearances for your weapons, which I won't confuse you with too much now, but there's a whole element there. Loads of new quests open up for you. There's mounts that are very rare to go and hunt after. There is so much that opens up to you at endgame. So if you are wondering whether or not it's worth investing the time into this game based on the content that's available, once you get to that max level, there is, for me, arguably more content in this game at max level than there is in any other MMO at the moment. I'm not saying that because I'm biased or anything. I play lots of other MMOs. I've been playing a lot of Elder Scrolls Online. I play Guild Wars 2. Also play Final Fantasy. I do play a lot, and this one 100% for me has the most content available. So if you are kind of wondering where to invest your time, I think this is a very, very good place to start. And there is quite a lot for you to kind of participate in as well. Cool. So I'll hand these in. That guy's given me his apples, which is great. I've got some booties, and I've got a new belt, which is great. So I'm basically questing to get dressed now, effectively, because I was basically wearing nothing. Cool, I think that's everything. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm actually going over the slots and holding Alt, and when you do that, it actually shows you what's available in your bag for that item slot that you can actually equip, which is one way of doing it if you don't want to kind of open up your bag and click through and have a look. So really, it's all down to preference, to be honest. But if you guys do have any more questions, please fire them my way. Even if it's just about MMOs in general, I'm always happy to kind of be as brutally honest as I can. So now what happens is when you get to level 10, you get to choose a specialization for your class. Now each class has a number of specializations, ranging from 2 to 4, I think, specs, that differ depending on the class you're playing. Now, just to give you an overview now, at the moment it sticks you into arms, which is a specialization for warriors. Once you get to level 10, you then have protection and you have fury available to you. Now these classes, these specs play slightly different from one another. There are different abilities that become available, and you can also fulfill a different role as well in the game. Because when you do go into later kind of question and group content, if you want to go down that path, you have different roles. You have the DPS, which is your damage dealers. You have tanks, which are the kind of the bulwarks, the frontal kind of chargers of your group, where they'll be taking the most damage and holding as much aggro, as it's called, on them, while the other guys deal the damage. And then you have a healer as well. And that's kind of self-explanatory. They'll heal the group as they get damaged. So as you can see, we've got arms, fury, and protection. Arms and fury are DPS kind of specializations for the warrior class, and protection, as the name may give away, is the tanking specialization for this class. Hopefully I'll get to level 10 in this stream, and I'll give you an overview of what they all do and what they look like. This is the spell book, obviously shows you all the abilities that you'll be obtaining and at what level you obtain them as well. So, is there always a shortage of healers? No, there isn't. It depends really on what level you're questing at, to be honest, and what level you're looking to go into the instances. At lower levels, it doesn't take that long to get into a group. If you're playing as a DPS, you're looking at maybe 5 to 6 minutes. When you get to mid-range, that tends to be where the least amount of players are, if that makes sense. But when you get to the higher level, you'll, as a DPS, be spending, again, 6 to 7 minutes waiting for a group. If you're playing as a tank, you'll get in almost instantly, more or less no matter what level you're playing at. And if you're playing as a healer, again, same story, you get in more or less instantly. Spec for leveling, it depends. For a warrior, I personally advise playing Fury. Fury, you basically you wield two-handed swords, a two-handed sword in each hand, and their burst damage. So as I mentioned earlier, the damage they do off the bat is very, very high. So you can take down mobs very, very quickly. They have some very nice area of effect kind of abilities as well, and they also have some healing abilities that can heal them during combat. And also out of combat as well, which I'll talk a little bit about once I manage to get for them. But tanking is very good for leveling. Tanks can take a lot of punishment. In fact, when the newest expansion came out, Legion, tanks were basically the way to go if you wanted to level through that content with ease. They can take a lot of punishment, and they do tend to have a lot of damage mitigation abilities, or they'll have a lot of self-healing abilities as well. Obviously, if you play as a tank and you want to do group content, the expectation is you will then be tanking as well. The beauty of this game is you can flip between the specializations as quickly as you like. Basically, I can once I get to a certain level, I can actually just go, right now I'm a tank, now I'm a DPS, or now I'm a heal. You can change between those specializations just by the click of a button. However, you're obviously, as you're leveling, you're going to naturally become more familiar with one spec than the other. So if you commit to playing protection, for example, in this case, you'll naturally probably feel a lot more comfortable playing him. So it might be worth tanking as well. But that's all just down to your own kind of preference. Jerry, at the moment, I do have heirlooms. I'm not using them. And for those of you who don't know what heirlooms are they're basically gear that you can buy. I'll just show you them now. Heirlooms are basically gear that you can buy that are bound across your entire account. So you can summon them at any point. I'll just show you now for the hell of it. I can click on that and click on that, and it gets added to my bag. And now I can stick these on, and what happens is with this gear actually levels with you. So every time I level it gives me more or less the highest possible achievable item level for that level that I'm on at the time. And they also provide a experience gain as well. So I'll get 10% extra XP while leveling with these. Now I've got a head as well. You've got your trousers, and you've got a chest. So you can get a good 60% extra XP just by wearing these things. You can obtain these from an heirloom vendor. I believe the Horde one is in Undercity, which is one of the faction cities, and you know what, I'll have to come back to you on the Alliance one because I can't quite remember where that one is. As a new player, you probably won't be able to get hold of these because they do cost gold. You can obviously buy gold directly from WoW or find some nice players that will give it to you. However, one thing to bear in mind is you will level quite quickly when you wear these, and you'll naturally get forced into later areas because you'll just be out leveling the ones that you're in too quickly. So you do miss a bit of story, and you also kind of don't allow yourself the same level of time to get used to a character as you would normally. However, it doesn't completely boost race you through the game. You do have to put a lot of time in getting to max level, so it's up to you if you want to pursue that route. As somebody like me who kind of has a lot of ults, I love having them, and in fact I don't play an ult without them, just because it gets me through the game a little bit quicker. So yeah, you do get a free motorcycle if you do have a X amount of heirlooms that you've bought on your account with gold. You get a free motorcycle, which I'll show you now, just so you guys know I'm accessing this collections little tab down here, which is where all my mounts, my pets, toys that I've accumulated, and heirlooms are. If we go on to mounts, see if I can actually find them on here. Come on, where is he? Yeah, I get this chauffeured Mechano Hog, so put him down here, and this is a mount that I get. You guys won't have this because you don't have the heirlooms when you first start off. However, I guess by showing you this, it does give you an idea of what the mounts kind of are like, and the speed increase that you get as well. You can obviously go faster than this once you get to a higher level. So, but for the sake of giving you guys like a vanilla experience, I'm not going to use mounts until the appropriate level, just because I don't want to give you a wrong idea about what is going to be available in this game for you straight off the bat. So now I'll get rid of my heirlooms as well. This doesn't delete it forever because it's part of my account. So I'm not deleting these things I've worked really hard for. I can now wear a new chest plate as well. So I am questing to get dressed, as I said earlier, and we're doing a pretty fine job so far. And yeah, they do cost a lot of gold, Jerry. Heirlooms can cost quite a few thousand gold, and then to upgrade them as well, I think first off they only go up to level 60, and then you have to upgrade them to level 90 and then level 100, and I think you can now upgrade them to level 110 as well, which is pretty neat. But each time you do that, it costs you gold. However, once you do it, it's permanent. It's then across all your characters. But there is a large gold element involved straight away, so it can be a bit of a pain, and don't expect to do that straight away. So unless you're super rich and you just buy gold, so in which case good for you and well done. So I'm just going off to what looks like the next area. As you can see, just to give you an overview of kind of what the game is like in size, this entire area here is, you can obviously see it on the map. It's pretty much from here to those ridges over there, you can see on this map. This is then the actual zone that I'm in. This zone is part of Kalimdor, so you've got all these zones here as well. You've then got the Eastern Kingdoms, which have their own individual zones, as you can see, and you've got Pandaria, the Broken Isles, which is where the latest content is. You've then got Northrend, you've got the Maelstrom, you've then got Draenor, and then you've then got Outland. So if you want an idea of what content there is in this game, there is a lot, because this world is humongous. And one of my favourite things about it as well, which a lot of MMOs don't tend to do at the moment, is it is more or less pretty much seamless. You can go from one zone and walk straight into the next with no loading screen. One thing that really bugs me about Elder Scrolls Online is I absolutely love that game. I put a lot of time into it, but nothing breaks the immersion more than when you kind of walk through into a new area to experience somewhere brand new, and you get a loading screen, which is always annoying. Thanks very much for joining, George. It was awesome having you along, and enjoy work. So cool. Now I've got this new ability down here called Victory Rush, and as I mentioned earlier, warriors are quite sustainable. What Victory Rush does is every time I kill something, I then get access to this ability. I can't actually use it until I kill an enemy, and then I have a certain amount of time to use it. But once I use it, I then get healed for 30% of my maximum health. So if you can imagine, while you're leveling, warriors are very, very good for just keeping their health up on the go, which is good. You want to find something that doesn't have much downtime, as it's called. Some characters have more downtime than others. I'd say mages in particular. Mages don't really have actually any healing abilities as such. They can conjure food, which gives them mana and health, which as part of a group, parties love that. You'll always get people asking for a mage table to keep them going. However, mages do have a lot of downtime. They will be eating a lot of their own food outside of combat, because they just don't have many abilities that keep them going, whereas characters like warriors or paladins and warlocks have a lot of abilities that kind of keep the momentum going during combat and out of combat as well. So it's kind of something to bear in mind when you're choosing a character, and it just depends on kind of what play style you want to have while playing the game as well. So I've got to get a Burning Flame medallion. Is that from this guy over here? Yeah, I think so. Now, one question I have been asked in the past is, one race better than another? The answer quite simply is no, it's not. 100% not. For casual, or even if you wanted to go into raiding, one race is not really better than the other. When you get the very high-end professional raiding guilds, they will pick certain races. I think a lot of the top guilds in the world tend to play Horde, and the reason being is they do have some buffs and active abilities that give them a very, very, very slight edge. And I mean, we're talking minuscule, which is what it does need to be at their play level, sort of advantage. But other than that, there is really no reason why you should pick one race over another for any other reason other than you think it looks better. And I genuinely mean that. If someone tries to tell you different, they're lying or they're not being completely honest. You do have some racial abilities like this, for example, increases my attack power by 7 last 15 seconds. This is not going to change the world. You know, it's not going to make me any better than a gnome warrior, for example. As I said, from a mythic raiding, professional raiding point of view, there will be slight reasons why they would pick one over the other to kind of cheese certain mechanics and so on. But for me, for you, for basically every other player, just pick what you think looks the coolest, because you have to look at this character for the next God knows how many hours, and just make sure that you're happy with it every time you look at it. That is the best advice I can give you. As I showed earlier on my stream, certain classes can only be played by certain races. That's always one thing to bear in mind. So again, it's just kind of figuring out whether you want to choose the race first and then the class, or if you want to choose the class and then the race. So again, completely up to you. What I'm going to try and do is power through this a little bit quicker, just so I can get to level 10 and show you guys the specs. And then what I'll do probably this weekend is do like a dungeon stream, so I can show you guys how the instances work as well, and give you an overview of what it's actually like to play with other players. It can be a very mixed experience. I've met some people through this game from Norway, from Germany, from Canada, from America, and I've had some fantastic relationships with them. You can actually make some very good friends through this game. I've also met some really nasty people as well, and you're always going to get that in an online game. You should never let that put you off. Unfortunately, Blizzard has probably one of the easiest blocking mechanics that I've ever seen in any online game, period. It is so easy to block someone based on their character. There's also a profanity filter as well, so if you're thinking about your kid playing this game, or maybe you are young yourself and you don't want to see chat just filled with profanities, it's on by default. You can turn it off if that kind of thing doesn't bother you. In terms of people being idiots, unfortunately there isn't an idiot filter. That would be great, however I'm not sure how that could be implemented. Slash I would probably get blocked from the game myself a couple of times. But this game is very social, it's always active, and there's loads of people to talk to. So I think I'll do a video about the social side and what to expect on that, what to expect from guilds, what guilds will expect from you, what to look for as well from a guild, and also what you can get from being in a guild as well, because there are quite a few perks of doing that. You don't necessarily have to join one ever. In fact, I have a couple of characters that are guildless, purely just because I can't be bothered with them. But then I have a guild of my own that I run, and I've made some fantastic friendships through doing that. I've also managed to do quite a lot of raiding with it as well. But I'll kind of go over that in another video, because right now guilds are just not important realistically. They don't kind of they're not necessary to the core elements of the gameplay at this moment in time. So, but if you do have any questions about this game or any MMOs in general, please just ask away. Like I said, I do play quite a lot of different MMOs, so I'm always happy to kind of give my opinions on them. I do play Elder Scrolls Online quite a lot as well, so I'm happy to answer kind of any questions you have about that. And feel free to check out my channel as well, because I do a lot of Let's Play videos for early access games on PC, which I play through quite a lot, and I do kind of short reviews as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, please go check them out. Bit of a warning though, I'm not doing it in this stream because this is kind of a game geared towards people from different backgrounds, ages and cultures. I do tend to swear a lot in my other videos. I'm not doing it in this stream purely because of the broad audience that this kind of game appeals to. So just bear that in mind, maybe if you do check out my other videos, that you're not going to walk away holding your ears, cursing my name. This is so cool. We're in a different area now, getting some quests from the trolls. So they want some crawler mucus, not sure why you'd want that. I'm sure if I read the quest I'd know. And they want some supply crates destroyed and some guys slain as well, so we will go and do that. Now, one thing that does always irk me about this game is the lower level areas, just in my opinion, do not represent how gorgeous this game looks in its current form, because you've got to remember that a lot of these zones haven't been touched since Cataclysm, which came out 3 expansions ago when they did like a big overhaul to the world, and beyond that a lot of the zones haven't actually been starter zones haven't been touched since vanilla WoW, so 13 years ago I think, give or take. The later kind of zones that you get in like Legion, Warlords of Draenor, and even Mists of Pandaria look absolutely incredible. this just, in my opinion, looks bland. It's based on very old art assets. So if that's one thing that you're kind of erring on the edge of, going, oh, I don't know if I can kind of put up with this game looking like this, trust me, when you get to the later parts of the game, it does look amazing. Now, if you were to go and buy the game, I believe Legion is on sale at the moment. I think it comes with the base game as well. Don't quote me on that. It's probably worth having a look to see if it does beforehand. But when you buy the game, you get access to a free 100 boost. So you effectively get given a level 100 character of the class and race of your choosing. Now, I wouldn't recommend using that until you've played through the actual core part of the game. Personally, I would actually recommend getting your own level 100 character first before using that. That's my preference. However, you may decide once you get to level 50, you know what, I feel comfortable with the game. I think I've seen a lot of what is here for me. I'd like to get into the current content. Then you can go ahead and just use it. The game does forfeit you the ability to actually, it does give you the ability to effectively try out a level 100. So you can create a level 100, give it a little go, see what it's like, and once you finish the kind of starter area for that 100, it gives you the options. Go, do you want to buy a level 100 boost, or if you've got one already, do you want to use it for this character? So they definitely give you a lot of opportunity to kind of try this game out, try the classes out, and find one that works for you, because that is 100% probably one of the most important things about this game, more than anything, is just making sure you're happy and you're comfortable with the character and with the class that you're playing. Please, for the love of God, do not go on the internet and go, what is the best class? Because as I mentioned in my stream earlier, people will just tell you, oh, this class is the best for DPS, this one does the most damage, this one looks the coolest, anything like that. Avoid it. Just go for what you find fun, because as I said earlier, what does the most damage necessarily isn't the most fun to play, and we play games for fun. Once you get more and more invested into the game, you go, no, I want to start doing some more hardcore raiding, I want to go for something that is the best damage wise. By all means, look at it then, but you really, really don't and shouldn't have to concern yourself with it now. I just think that distracts too much away from the fun of the game itself. Right, so I've got to go turn these in. Behave. Now, as you can see, the enemies in this area are now naturally red on their health bar. So that means if I get too close, they will just attack me without me provoking them. Obviously, I'm playing a warrior, so I provoke everything first. That's what warriors do. So it's always worth knowing the difference between the yellow and the reds. Because as I mentioned earlier, yellow won't attack you until you do it. Red will attack you if you get too close. So it's definitely something to bear in mind while you're kind of leveling up solo or with friends. Okay, right on. What did the guy use this mucus for? You bring the jujus, I show you my mojo. Okay, well. Now we get the other jujus. There's a lot of juju for your mojo, mate. I mean, brutally honest. Right, okay, so we've done that. Now I've got another quest here. Destroy 3 sets of, okay, cool. More destroy quest type stuff. So, yeah, I'll go this way because it looks like I can get some of this stuff from here on the way to these quests here. I'm now also running into a fence, which is rad. Don't do that. Well, I promise you, you will do it at some point, so. Crap, did that a little bit too quickly. Alright, okay, cool. Yeah, it's always worth reading the quests, even if it's just part of it, because sometimes it will tell you to do a specific thing, and like me, you'll just go, why have I not completed this part of the quest? And it's because it actually tells you what to do, and I just ignored it. So these scorpions, for example, I've got to drop down this little totem and wait for them to use like a poison attack, and then I absorb the poison and then I can kill them, which is great. So come on. Cool. I need to get 4 more. Now when you first start the game, the quests are very, very simple. They're very systematic. And they are kind of deliberately like that to introduce you to a lot of the elements of this game. As you get to the later zones, the quests, you still get a lot of the same kind of fetch and kill quests, but a lot of them are more varied as well. They have a bit more of a scripted storyline to them, which is pretty awesome. So if you're looking at the quest now going, man, this looks pretty boring, it's not like that for the entire game. And the quests do have a lot more of a scripted sort of element to them as you sort of progress through it. So oh man, don't kill it beforehand. Okay, cool, there we go. Cool. I've just got 1 more sample to get, and then I can race off into the other area where I think I've got to slay some troops and then get some attack plans as well, because apparently people just leave those lying around when they're going to war. That's the done thing. Apparently, I think I've killed all the there is like a Scorpid deficit going on. Oh, we've got 1. You are the last of your kind, my friend. I'm sorry, some guy needs some venom for his mojo so he can make some juju or something, and it's got to be you, my friend. Alright, groovy. So we've got that, and we can now go off and get the attack plans, and then kill the troops as well. Now, there are different elements to this game that you can enjoy. There's professions. I think I may have mentioned them a little bit earlier on. But what that means is you can basically take up a different skill line within the game that can benefit you or benefit other players. For example, you have mining, which is a gathering profession, just like things like herbalism as well, which is a gathering profession. And then you have things like production professions, so blacksmithing, tailoring, where it uses those resources to then make items. Usually gear that could be used in the game. Now, low level, these items are probably not going to benefit you. I would recommend them making them though, because it is quite fun. It does level you up. And then once you get to max level and you enter the kind of higher tier of professional skill lines, you can actually create some really, really good gear, which you can use yourself or you can sell to other players on the in-game auction house. Which is really, really cool. The auction house here is pretty decent. It can be accessed from many places, including your phone. You can get the Armory app, where you can actually, once you're not on the game, you can do a lot of kind of, oh, is this guy going to kill everyone? No! Cheers, mate. Well, that was good. So... but yeah, professions are definitely worth getting early on. Things like mining, gathering professions, things like that. Every time you find like a mining nodes to mine from, you actually get a small amount of experience as well. So from a leveling point of view, it's actually pretty nifty. And I would 100% recommend getting a profession. It might be worth going for one that benefits you. If you're a plate wearer, then obviously look into doing blacksmithing and mining. If you're a leather or a mail wearer, then look into getting into something like skinning and leatherworking. So it does vary, and I'll talk a little bit more about the armor types a little bit later on in the stream as well, so you've got an idea of what's available. You can't, unlike games like Elder Scrolls Online, for example, wear whatever type of armor you like. If you're a warrior, you can wear cloth if you want to. I mean, it is there, but you can't. You won't benefit from it at all. As a warrior, you benefit from plate, and that is it. As a cloth wearer, you can only wear cloth. As a leather worker, you can wear a leather wearer. You can wear leather and you can wear cloth. However, again, same as plate wearers, you will not get any benefit whatsoever from wearing cloth. So the only reason I guess you'd want to do that is if it was from a role-playing point of view. I know a lot of people tend to mix and match armor types that they shouldn't, purely from a cosmetic point of view because it helps with their roleplay. But that is something I may talk about another time. Role-playing is a massive, or can be a massive aspect of this game. It can be completely avoided altogether if you're really, really not into that thing. Again, that's completely up to you. Cool. How many more do I need? 5. I thought I'd killed a lot more than that, but obviously not. If you do have any questions about the game, I know I keep bringing this up, but I really, really do not mind answering any questions at all. If you've got any questions about what I find fun to play, what I think of the end level content, what I think of raiding, what I think of PvP, any question you like about the game, or any question you like about another MMO, feel free to ask away, because I'm always happy to give my opinion, be it good or bad. So, and if you are enjoying it as well and you'd like to kind of follow me through Azeroth or other games, then you are more than welcome to give that sub button a cheeky little click. I do tend, well, I have only just gotten back into streaming because I took a massive break because my old job was not great for letting me do that kind of thing. But I'm now going to university, so I've got a lot more time to do this kind of thing. I'm going to try and stream every day, or at least every other day, and then produce kind of my recorded, scripted video content as well, at least once a week. That's my plan, so you're more than welcome to come and join me as I adventure very slowly through Azeroth. Okay, cool, there we go. So that's all the quests done. I'm now going to have a little moosey back to the quest givers. In terms of traveling between different cities, it is more or less, they offer you a lot of portals now. So there's a lot of portals that are kind of readily available for you to travel to places like Dalaran, New Dalaran, the Warlords area. So if I just show you now, just for the sake of it, Broken Isles, which is the new Legion area, you get given a special Hearthstone that will take you back there, which has a very, very small cooldown. And that's basically the easiest way of getting there. If I wanted to go from Kalimdor to Eastern Kingdoms, for example, there is still a boat that goes from... Oh my god, this guy's attacking me while I'm trying to explain stuff. That was massively rude. There is still a boat that goes from... Oh my goodness. Ratchet. There we go. Just over there, there's a boat that goes from Ratchet all the way over to Booty Bay in Stranglethorn. So that's the way of getting there. There's also a couple of portals as well. Just trying to think off the top of my head. Northrend. It's a case of taking a Zeppelin from Orgrimmar to get to Northrend, or you can take a Zeppelin from Orgrimmar that will take you to Undercity or Tristful Glades over here. So there are different ways of still getting from places that involve you taking boats or ships. There's obviously ships for Alliance, and then kind of the Zeppelins for the Horde. But for the newer areas like Pandaria, Broken Isles, Draenor, there's portals that are kind of there for you to take should you want to do that. So Alliance from Eastern Kingdoms, I'll just show you now. So if you want to go, if you're starting off as the Alliance, obviously you'll be in Eastern Kingdoms. However, if you're starting off here and you're playing as the Night Elves start off in... is that right? I feel like they do. Yeah, the Night Elves start in this area over here. There is actually an island that you can go to, where a boat will take you from there to Eastern Kingdoms. If you're playing an Alliance character and you want to travel from Kalimdor to Eastern Kingdoms because you're questing over here, you can still take a boat from Ratchet to Booty Bay, because they're actually a neutral area. So it's neither a Horde nor an Alliance dominated zone. You can basically take a boat that will take you from there to there. So there are still manual ways of doing it. Obviously, if you're a mage, you can portal to most of the major places, and you can set up portals for other players that are in your party for major places as well. Okay, cool. I mean, that's actually better than what I've got, but I'm not going to use the staff, so that's alright. You're welcome, mate. If you've got any more questions, then feel free to fire them over. Okay, speak to Raider Jahash to get a ride to Razor Hill. Once there, speak with Garthok. Okay, this is cool because now I can actually show you how some of the flight paths work, how you get from one bit to another. So if I click on... Wait, what? I'm gonna be honest, you're not the dude I thought you were. Do I have to speak to someone else? Raider Jahash. Who is Raider Jahash? What? Oh, this guy over here. Okay, cool. I was going to take the flight path, but no, apparently there's a dude I can talk to. What? I don't think I've ever heard that before. Can I catch a ride to Razor Hill? Cool. Alright, and off we go. There's a naked orc running past me, so... Wicked. So this is an automated mount. You can obviously get your own mounts. Okay. You can get your own mounts as well. I'll just show you an example. You get ground mounts, you get flying mounts. Ground mounts, you gain access to these naturally at kind of level 20. When you get to level 40, you can then buy a more experienced version of that, so your ground mounts go quicker. And then when you get to level 60, you then get flying mounts, which you can then use to fly through a lot of the areas. You do have to buy a license to fly through Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor. It's not that expensive, and the way the game works, by the time you get to that level, you will have naturally accumulated the gold to do that anyway. And then once you get to other areas, you can buy licenses to fly there, and you can upgrade the flying speed as well. So you can actually get around from A to B relatively quickly without the help of anyone else, really, which is pretty awesome. So see what this little cheeky chappy wants. Garthok. Okay. Wicked. So now I've got to go kill some dudes, and I can't jump out of here. It means I've got to go the normal way, and that sucks. Alright, so we're out, and now I can go get some more quests. I'm very, very close to getting to level 10. And that's kind of really what I want to show you guys, is the specializations and how they're all different from one another. And then in my next video, I'll show you guys a little bit about the instance, like the dungeon questing and the dungeon playing, with other players. So you can get kind of an idea of how that works as well. So let's see how my bags are doing. And my bags are actually getting pretty full up. As you can see by this nifty little number down here, it says I've got 6 item slots available. This never used to be a thing, but they did introduce it. You can click on this icon here and it tidies up your bags for you. You can buy bags that have greater bag space. You can assign bags to be different things, so you can assign a bag to only hold armor, or to only hold weapons or food or crafting materials, which is really, really cool. It's a good way of kind of organizing your bags. Inventory management in MMOs can be an absolute nightmare, and don't get me wrong, it can still be an absolute nightmare in WoW. Just fortunately there are a few things out there and a few add-ons as well that do kind of make the experience a little bit better for you. That being said, if I go in any of my main characters, my bags still look absolutely atrocious. So yeah, cool. So I've got to find some Kulturas treasure, and then I've got to kill a bunch of Alliance dudes as well, because at this level, at this time, we don't like the Alliance. The Alliance suck and they don't like us, so it's a two-way relationship of hate. I think from memory, the treasure's actually like physical items. I don't loot them from anyone. Let's have a little cheeky look. It is, yeah, cool. So quest items that you find out in the world that are for a particular quest will be highlighted with this nice little golden glow, which basically says, hey, come pick me up. And I have, so I've got 1 of 6 now, so now I need to find another 5 more. Now, if you're wondering what this little arrow above my head means, this basically means I've been pinpointed by this guy. So it's just an attack. It's also known as a debuff that is given to you by NPC enemy characters or by other players as well. And a debuff will have a negative effect on you. Up here at the top right, these are positive status effects, or procs as they're known as, that affect you personally. And then down below that, you'll have any negative sort of statuses. At a low level, you don't have to worry about it. And in fact, when you get to max level and you do the looking for raid, looking for group raiding, people still don't really tend to worry about it. But it's definitely handy knowing. So I've got a bunch of Marines to kill, a Pallitor Lieutenant to kill, and 3 more treasures to find. I mean, I am curious to know kind of what what faction people would be thinking to go for. Is there any way, well, are people more leaning towards Horde or Alliance, or are you more leaning towards a human or an orc or a night elf? I'm always curious to know what people want to play. Not so I can like go, no, that's wrong. I'm just, you know, everyone has a different reason for wanting to play something, and I'm always interested to hear what that is. So me, for example, I main a female orc warlock, and the reason why I play a female orc warlock is because I think warlocks, I want to play something that looks mean, that looks tough, and orcs were naturally just something that I wanted to play a warlock as. However, I don't like the idea of these big hulking masks of muscle wearing cloth gear. I just don't think it looks particularly good, and I don't like the way the orcs, the orc males slouch over. So I play a female orcs. They stand up tall, they're not as bulky, and the kind of cloth armor just tends to look a little bit better on them. But I'm always interested to hear, you know, what other... Oh my god! We're fine. We're good. Always interested to hear what other people want to play. That guy was another player. You do obviously bang into other players in the world. He's of the same faction as me, so he can't actually attack me. He can, however, say hello. He can whisper me. He can invite me to a party. He can add me as a friend if he wants to, or he can even, you know, ask me to duel him, which I don't have to accept if I don't want to. But it is really, really cool coming across other players while you're questing. There's nothing wrong with you typing /hey or /hi or wave, or even just type in hello. A lot of the time players will kind of say hello back. And you might make a friend out of it, or even just a temporary alliance with someone while you're completing some quests together. If I was partied up with that guy right now, and we're in sort of a relatively close proximity to each other, all the quest kills that we're getting at the moment would count towards each other. So that Marine kill would have counted for him, for example. And it's always good to kind of just meet other people in the game. I guess, you know, one perk of an MMO is you can get those long-lasting friendships with people. or they can just be a nightmare. Hopefully they wouldn't be. So cool, we're all done. We can go hand these in. One good thing about this game as well is it really isn't that demanding to run. If you are worried about you know, your specs, if you don't have the best PC in the world, a lot of World of Warcraft tends to be very dependent in your processor. If you've got a processor from like 6-7 years ago, maybe even 8 years ago, there's a very good chance that you can run this game at slightly okay settings, at a slightly okay frame rate. I remember running this on a very old processor on a laptop years ago. I had it on a mid-range graphics and I got about 40 frames a second. While, as I mentioned earlier, the later stages of the game do look very, very good. The art style for this game is fantastic in the later expansions. It doesn't take a lot to run it, and even at low settings, you know, you still enjoy the game. So but like I said earlier, there is actually a level 20 trial that you can play. So if you are curious to see how the game actually runs on your hardware, you can play up to level 20. You can do everything I'm doing now. The only thing you can't do is join a guild, and certain social aspects are not available to you on a trial account. When you get to level 20, you can keep playing as long as you want, but you just won't level any more than that. But it is 100% probably the best way to figure out whether or not how the game plays is for you. I remember before I started World of Warcraft about 9 years ago, I used to poke fun at people that played World of Warcraft. I was like, you know, I love RPGs, I love fantasy, I love gaming, but that is one element of gaming I will never go into, because, you know, like nerds and that, I mean, that's ridiculous. I don't know why I ever thought like that, because I ended up trying the game on a trial, and one of my best friends at the time was like, oh, I play World of Warcraft, you have to give it a go, and he bullied me, and in the end I said, you know what, I'm just going to download the trial and give it a go. My wallet was out later on that evening, like 3 or 4 hours later, and I bought like the base edition and one of the expansions because I just fell in love with it. I played Warcraft 2 and 3 years ago, many moons ago, about 13 years ago, and I loved the Warcraft universe. So why I never picked this game up beforehand, and why I had such a stigma against it, I'm not really that sure. But I fell in love with it, and, you know, like I said earlier, if I could go back and play this game for the first time, I honestly, I'd give anything to do that. That would be so rad. This guy's a vendor, and I've got a bunch of stuff I can vendor and sell to him. Basically, junk is marked with a little coin on the top left. It means that basically you can get rid of this and you're not going to miss it. So I can get rid of these. This gear here, I'll tell you what, I'll keep that because I may go protection. I don't need this food. Food is like so pointless at this. Actually, no, I'll keep that one at this stage of the game. I'll keep that as well. Clean up bags. Cool, there we go. I mean, this 27 silver and 59 bronze doesn't look like a lot of money. That's because it's not. That is not a lot of money at all. However, one of the best things about this game is a lot of the sort of money costs involved in terms of in-game currency are very relative to the level that you're at. So repairing your gear, for example, is very relative to your level. Traveling from here to there using flight masters is very relative to your level. So doesn't give you a very low amount of gold and then go, ha, you now can't afford anything, so suck on that. It goes, well, you know, we've lowered the cost relative or proportionate to your level for the things that you may need while playing the game. So cool, groovy. All right, so this new ability here got here is called Execute. Very similar to Victory Rush. It depends on particular circumstances in order for it to actually become a usable ability. In this instance, the enemy that I'm attacking has to be below 20% health, and you can activate execute, which does a lot of damage, and a lot of times it can actually kill the enemy. Just to give you an example, I don't have enough rage, so cool, thanks for that. Let's charge this guy, attack, keep attacking, and then execute's now available, and he's dead. So, I mean, you do get abilities that go pretty much like that. Priests have a very similar ability. I think, is it Shadow Word Death? I think I have a priest, but I haven't played it a very long time. We have abilities that will activate depending on your enemy's health. There is kind of a optimal rotation, which is effectively the number in which you should be using your abilities, or the order in which you should be using your abilities. So use this ability first, then use this one, then use this one. And if your enemy has this on them, then use this ability, and even abilities that are more suited and tailored towards kind of fighting multiple enemies. I honestly wouldn't worry too much at a low level. It's definitely worth looking at each ability when you game on to see what it does. It gives you a very, very small amount of reading to look at, say, hey, this ability does this, this, and you can kind of work out for yourself, hey, maybe this is a good time to use this ability, and so on. But when you get to later levels, or if you want to start doing dungeons with a guild, or you want to start raiding, then it is 100% worth looking at websites. There's quite a few good ones out there. Personally, I use Icy Veins, and they will give you a very, very good overview of what abilities you should be looking at, but more importantly, they tell you why you should be using those abilities. So it's 100% kind of looking at that in the future. If you do want to kind of fine-tune your experience and fine-tune your DPS. Oh, it's supposed to be helping you guys? Okay, cool. Oops. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to be getting some treasure as well. Did I do that already? Or some tools or something like that? I don't know, this is probably why you should do the opposite of what I do and actually read the quests, because I really suck at that. Okay, apparently me rescuing these guys is literally just clicking on them so they can get up and walk off, but something you notice, you know, as you get a little bit higher level, the enemies are now taking a bit more of a punishment from you, whereas before, you know, they were kind of taking one hit. They're now taking like 3 or 4. You know, that's how the game works. It kind of eases you into it quite gradually. So while it does it quite easy getting rid of these guys, as you get to the later content and you are questing it for the first time, you can actually die quite a few times. If you do die, don't worry, it's not a permanent death. You do just go to a graveyard where you can run back to your body. Your gear will take a slight durability hit, so you'll have to get it repaired at some point. Or you can resurrect at the graveyard, and you basically take a health and damage sacrifice, which lasts for about, I think it's 15 minutes or 10 minutes, where your health will be like 75% less and your damage will be like 75% less. But it's very, very easy to just run back to your body in most cases. So there's no permadeath or anything like that. In fact, I don't know if any MMOs actually do that. Maybe. So cool, got some new braces. Amazing. So if anyone does have any questions about this game or MMOs in general, like, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer any questions I can, as long as they're not like too difficult, I suppose. Just let me know and I'll do my best. What I am actually going to do though now is I'm going to take a brief break for about 10 minutes so I can go get a drink. This room is actually boiling. It's like 500 billion degrees in here, so I definitely need to do something about that. But if you can give me like 10-15 minutes, I'll be straight back on. Thank you very, very much if you have been watching so far. If you are enjoying it, then just click the sub button and you'll always get notified whether or not I do go live. But if we say I'll be back on, it is at 1:30 now, so I'll be back on in 15 minutes at 1:45. Thanks a lot, I'll catch you then.